The restaurant smelled faintly of coffee, roses, and regret. Daniel checked his watch for what must have been the 10th time in 20 minutes. 7:40 p.m. His date was already 10 minutes late. The flickering candle in front of him was burning shorter, just like his patience. He sighed and looked around the softly lit restaurant, couples laughing, waiters weaving between tables, soft music playing somewhere in the background. Everything felt warm and full, except for the seat across from him. The empty chair mocked him. He tried to smile to himself. Maybe she's stuck in traffic, he whispered under his breath. Or maybe she saw my picture and decided to run. A couple at the next table laughed together, the woman gently brushing her date's arm. Daniel turned away. This was supposed to be his fresh start. His friends had pushed him to try dating again after 2 lonely years since his wife, Emma, passed away in a car accident. He wasn't sure he was ready, but he said yes to a blind date arranged by a coworker named Julia, who swore her friend was sweet, funny, and perfect for him. But sitting alone now, Daniel wondered if maybe fate had other plans. He reached for his phone to text Julia that he'd just leave, when suddenly... Tap. 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 He looked up. A little girl stood at his table, no more than 6 years old, holding a small stuffed bunny with one ear missing. Her curly brown hair was tied in uneven pigtails, and she wore a yellow dress with tiny daisies printed on it. She looked a little out of place in this upscale restaurant, but her big hazel eyes glowed with determination. "Excuse me," she said softly, "are you Mr. Daniel?" Daniel blinked, confused. Yes? That's me." Her face brightened. "My mommy's sorry she's late." He froze. "Your mommy?" The girl nodded seriously. "She said to tell you she'll be here soon. She just had to help someone." Daniel stared, unsure whether to laugh or call the manager. But the little girl didn't look like she was joking, she looked perfectly sure of her mission. "Well," Daniel said awkwardly, "that's okay. Would you like to sit down while you wait for your mommy?" Her smile widened. "Can I?" "Thank you, mister." She climbed up onto the chair across from him, the one meant for his date, and placed her bunny carefully on the table, like a guest of honor. For a moment, Daniel wasn't sure what to say. Then he noticed the faint scar on the girl's wrist, thin, pale, like a healed cut, and the way she kept touching it nervously. He smiled gently. "So, what's your name?" "Lily," she said proudly. "Like the flower. Mommy says she picked that name because lilies grow even in the dark." "That's a beautiful name," Daniel said softly. "And your bunny? What's his name?" "Mr. Buttons." She grinned, holding it up. "He lost his ear, but Mommy said that makes him special." Daniel chuckled. "I think she's right." Lily leaned forward conspiratorially. "Mommy said she was nervous. She hasn't gone on a date in forever. She said she almost didn't come." Daniel's heart softened. "Well, I'm glad she decided to. You're a very good messenger." She giggled, clearly pleased. "She told me to keep you company till she comes." He smiled at her innocence, but inside, something strange stirred, a mix of warmth and ache. The last time he'd spoken to a little girl like this, it had been his own daughter, Lucy. He swallowed hard. Lucy had been 4 when the accident took her and Emma both. And suddenly, sitting across from this bright-eyed child, Daniel felt the universe stir again, like a door he thought was locked had quietly opened. 10 minutes passed. Lily happily stirred her glass of chocolate milk, the waiter had brought it with a smile, and told Daniel stories about her imaginary school and how she wanted to be a doctor for teddy bears and people. Daniel found himself laughing, genuinely laughing, for the first time in a long while. "So, Lily," he said, "what's your mommy like?" "She's the best," Lily said immediately. "She works at the hospital." She helps old people walk again. But she's always tired lately. She says grown-ups forget to rest their hearts. Daniel blinked. Rest their hearts. That sounded like something Emma would have said. He felt a lump in his throat. Your mommy sounds amazing. She is. Lily said proudly. Then her smile softened. She said she used to smile more before my daddy went to heaven. But she still smiles for me. Daniel froze. He wasn't sure what to say, but before he could speak, Lily's gaze drifted toward the door. She's here. Lily whispered, bouncing in her seat. A woman walked in, tall, wearing a deep green dress, her hair tied back in a messy bun. She looked exhausted but beautiful in that quiet, unpolished way that comes from kindness rather than effort. Her eyes, the same hazel as Lily's, swept the room and landed on Daniel. Her lips parted in surprise. Hi, she said softly, walking over. You must be Daniel. Daniel stood up, his heart thudding. And you must be Julia's friend? She nodded, her cheeks pink. I'm Grace. I'm so sorry I'm late. There was an elderly man at the bus stop, he fell, and I couldn't just leave him. Daniel smiled faintly. Your messenger explained everything. Grace blinked, confused, then looked at Lily. Wait, Lily? She frowned. What are you doing here? I told you to stay with Mrs. Porter next door. Lily looked guilty. But Mommy, you said to tell Mr. Daniel you were sorry, so I came to tell him. Grace's eyes widened. You walked here? The little girl nodded. I followed the street signs. Mr. Buttons helped me. Grace gasped, her face pale. Lily, that's not safe. Tears welled in Lily's eyes. I'm sorry, Mommy. I just didn't want you to lose your date. Grace knelt beside her daughter and hugged her tight, her voice trembling. Oh, sweetheart, don't ever scare me like that again. Daniel stood still, his heart chwee. Ing at the sight. The love between them was pure, unguarded, real. When Grace finally looked up, tears shone in her eyes, but she was smiling. I'm really sorry about all this, she said softly. You must think I'm the most chaotic person alive. Daniel shook his head gently. Actually, I think you're kind of incredible. Dinner unfolded like a quiet miracle. Lily sat between them, drawing hearts and stick figures on napkins while Daniel and Grace talked, and laughed, and shared stories they hadn't planned to share. Grace told him about losing her husband to cancer 3 years ago, how she'd been terrified to raise a child alone. Daniel shared about losing Emma and Lucy, how the silence in his house had grown so loud it was hard to breathe sometimes. By dessert, they weren't strangers anymore, they were two broken souls who had accidentally found the same missing piece. When Lily fell asleep on the booth, clutching Mr. Buttons, Grace looked at Daniel, her voice barely a whisper. She hasn't fallen asleep like that in months, she said. Usually she needs me to sing to her. Daniel smiled softly. Maybe she feels safe tonight. Grace's eyes met his, and for a long, quiet moment, neither looked away. Outside, under the glow of the streetlights, Grace adjusted Lily in her arms. Daniel offered his coat, wrapping it gently around them both. She's really special, he said. Grace smiled, her eyes tired but full of light. She's all I have. Daniel hesitated, then said, you know, she reminds me of someone. My daughter. She had the same laugh. Grace's expression softened. I'm sorry. He shook his head. Don't be. Tonight. I think she gave me something I didn't know I was missing. Grace tilted her head. What's that? Hope, he said simply. 3 weeks later, Grace invited Daniel to the park. Lily ran ahead, chasing butterflies with Mr. Buttons in hand, while Daniel and Grace sat on a bench, watching. Grace looked at him. You know, Julia told me you almost canceled that night. Daniel smiled. Yeah. I thought the table would stay empty. Grace laughed quietly. Funny. I almost didn't go. He looked at her, eyes soft. I'm glad we both showed up. Then Lily came running over, cheeks flushed. Mommy. Mr. Daniel. Look. 2 butterflies. She pointed, and sure enough, 2 butterflies danced together in the sunlight, circling as if the world had nothing but joy in it. Grace smiled at her daughter. Maybe it's a sign. Daniel looked at her, his voice gentle. Maybe it's a new beginning. 1 year later. The same restaurant. Same table. Only this time, the chair across from Daniel wasn't empty. Lily sat between them, coloring happily. Grace leaned against Daniel's shoulder, wearing a quiet smile. Remember when I walked in here late and thought I'd ruined everything, she said. Daniel chuckled. And then a little girl walked in and fixed everything. Lily looked up from her drawing. That's me.